Today we're working on a Bally Freedom and Bally EM. Just kind of go through it quickly. You know, these Bally games are usually not too difficult. I kind of like them myself, but I always start in the back box, so that's where I always begin. So before we get started, the first thing I always like to do is put it on free play. This is the credit unit. And what there is there's a pair of switches right here that when it's in the zero position, that is, this thing is decremented all the way, these two switches normally open, meaning that the start button on the front of the game won't work. So what I do is I permanently close those two switches. So you can see there's one credit, there's zero. Those switches do not open. Now one switch actually goes to the coin door. The other switch actually goes to a light on the ball arch, which would be this light right here, showing that there's credits on the game. The reason that they did that is some jurisdictions, they would put tape over the credit window to hide the credit numbers, but it was kind of like secret code that if this light was on, you had credits. This was to get around gambling and replay laws that were designed to minimize pinball machines giving away free credits. Next thing I like to look at is the player unit. This directs which player the game is currently set to. That is, if all the scoring is going to player 1, it would go up to this set of score reels, and this directs it up to there. If it was going to player 4, it would send it down to here. This guy is having problems advancing. So we're going to have to take this apart and resetting. Take this guy apart and clean him. So what I've done is remove the screw here and pull off the spider. And then I've polished each one of these with my 600 grit. I've also polished this with 600 grit sandpaper just to make it nice and smooth and clean, and then lightly lubricated it with Teflon gel lube. Now when you're putting this back together, on this side, keep your hand on the wheel here, because what happens is as you push this spider back on, it's going to try and force this guy, the cog, through the stepper, and then you'll have problems with the return spring if you push it too far. So you always keep your hand here whenever you're applying any sort of pressure that way. The Bally spider goes on real easy. The wire here denotes the bottom side of it. I mean, you could put it in upside down, but it'd almost be impossible to do, so you can't really screw it up. But now that I've got it reassembled, you can see that it advances nice and it resets nice. If I go up one step, resets back. That's the real good test. Go up one step and reset back. So now the player unit's all set. We didn't have to take the cog out that goes through the big plate. Next thing I like to look at is the set of 5 relays. These two are the reset relays, so when you start a game, these will pulse in and out, and what they do is one relay will reset like 1 and 2 player score reels, and the next one will reset player 3 and 4 till they're all at 0. That's what these guys do. Then you've got your 1,000, 100, and 10-point relays. I always like to check the switch adjustment on these and make sure that they're fairly close, so that there's a good kind of wiping motion on the relay when it closes, so your two contacts are almost self-cleaning. They're real important on these. I usually don't have to do too much adjustment to the reset. Those are usually pretty good, but these guys always seem like they need some sort of adjustment. I don't look at any of the score reels right now. I use the game to test their feasibility, and it's just a lot easier and less time consuming. There's also like a match unit up here. Again, usually this is not problematic and I don't have to monkey with this too much. But right now this is all I'm going to do in the back box, and now we're going to move to the bottom board. One thing on Bally you usually always have to deal with is the fuse clips. They use really inexpensive fuse clips. A good test is to take the fuse out and then squeeze the two tabs together, and if they break, you obviously have a bad fuse clip, and then you replace them. On this game, and then when I push them in, they don't Y out. I could feel tension on the fuses. On this game, the fuse clips are actually in good shape, which is amazing, because like I said, usually I have to replace these with brand new fuse clips. But here it looks like we're doing pretty good. They're going in with a good snap. Hear the snap? That's important. Again, check the tension on these, and then put the fuse clip back in and listen for the snap. Got my snap, so that means the fuse clips are in good shape. I don't have to replace them. The other thing you want to check too is after the game's been on for about 5 minutes, turn it off and put your hand on these fuses. If they are warm at all, you got to replace the fuse clip too, because that just means that they're big resistors. That's real common on these too. And then there's always one other. Right here is a line fuse. Again, same deal. Push the little tabs in and make sure that nothing cracks. Put it in, listen for the snap. Pretty good. Playfield lifted up, and looking at the bottom board, there's a couple stepper units down here. Common to most Bally games. You've got your ball count unit here, and then you got your coin unit here. So what these do is the ball count unit obviously tells you what ball number you're on, and this thing needs to work flawlessly. So again, it has to step up and reset, clean these brass rivets. And then on the coin unit, again, it has to work. It steps up 4 positions. So you've got player 1, 2 players, 3 player, 4 player, and then it goes no further than that, and then it resets back. Now, the one thing that happens that's really common on this unit is that this switch right here, which opens when you hit the 4th player, watch. So we got player 1, 2, 3, and then you put your 4th coin in, that switch opens up, and that prevents it from advancing anymore. Because you can't have more than 4 players. So what likes to happen is this switch likes to get on the other side of this brass pull-up right here, and either the unit won't advance, or it's also a 4-player game, or whatever. This happens a lot. I have no idea why. Usually big fat fingers cause that problem, but these are cleaned up and working well. And then we'll go through each one of the relays, and I'll manually check the switch adjustment on all those, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll manually check switch adjustment on the score motor switches. And basically what I'm looking for is a good wiping motion. I just don't want them to go like this. I want the one to move, actually move the other contact, so that they get like a wiping motion again. For the playfield, there's a couple stepper units. First one's this one. This is a bonus stepper. So this is a step up, step down. So you go up 1 unit, and then it goes down 1 unit when it counts off the bonus. So as you play the game, advances the bonus 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, so on. And then when the ball hits the out hole and you score your bonus, it'll step down, scoring each one of them. So 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, home. Usually most Bally games start with 1,000 points at game start, but you should always check these switches, make sure that they're adjusted properly, that they change state at the 0 position and the 1st position. So, but this game also has another stepper right here called the wheel stepper, and what this is that there's a wheel here in the center, and I think these are related to the spinner. And what it is that each one of these is a value, advanced bonus 3 times, 5,000 points, so on and so forth. And what happens is I believe when you hit the spinner that this guy just spins around. This is just a continuous stepper. That is, it just keeps going up, and it doesn't ever reset. So it just spins around like this and never goes back down. Okay, and this is called the wheel unit. Well, if you look, the wheel unit has a burned up coil. And I believe I know why this happened. I mean, we're going to put a new coil in, obviously, but this happens for a variety of reasons, and I believe I know why. But if you don't fix the root cause of this, it's just going to burn the coil up again. And look, you can see how the playfield's even black here from where this guy was locked on and just melted. So the plunger is stuck inside the coil. How do you get it out? I just beat the crap out of it with a hammer to break away the plastic in that, and then I can eventually get this guy, the plunger, to slide out. Look at that. I can pull him right out now. We'll need a new nyliner on the end of the coil because it definitely melted when it was inside this thing. But this coil was wasted anyway, so beating the crap out of it with a hammer, I just find it's the quickest way to get a melted plunger, metal plunger, out of the inside of a coil. New coil installed. Advance is real nice. Perhaps why that wheel coil was locked on is this has to do with these spinners. Both these spinners have the same issue. You see how they're not standing? They should be standing up like this. So what happens is the arms on the spinner here and here by my index fingers, they get bent, and it causes the spinner to not sit up straight, which closes the spinner switch. I believe this is what advances the wheel is the spinners. So what you have to do is you have to rebend the arms. And actually what you can really do is go to Pinball Resource and you can buy new spinners that have increased diameter arms or a heavier gauge metal. But you see, just with some bending, see now I bend it, how it's standing straight up? That's what it's got to do. That way the switch doesn't stay closed. You see how this one is leaning over? That's forcing the switch closed, which I believe locks on that wheel stepper unit. So again, I'm going to bend, you see right here, how they're not perpendicular to the sides of the spinner. I'm just going to bend it a little bit and see if I can get this to stand. Yeah, you see, I just did that, and now it's standing up nice and straight. See, it makes all the difference. This one could actually go a little more, but I think what you really got to do ultimately, if you want this to be a long-term repair, is to replace the spinners with the new ones with the larger diameter wire so they don't get all bent. Now we're ready to do some preliminary testing, so let's power on. That's a good sign. It decrements the bonus unit to 0, and then back to home. Power on. Kind of typical. So now let's go behind the back, and we can check out the relays. Okay, here's the 10-point. Make sure that that advances our guy over here. Since we're not in game, it won't carry over, just so you know. And then the 100's over here. Sounds like maybe the plunger on the chime unit, missing the nylon tip, since I'm not getting the noise all the time. And then here's the 1000. Now the 1000 will carry over, as it does. Okay, so that's good for player 1. And I can advance the player unit, and now it's going to go to player 2. You can see. Okay, and then the 1000. Oops, look. It's not advancing the 1000 reel. So we've got a problem with this guy right here. This is why we do this. All right, let's go to third player. Advance this guy up. Go to player 3. Do the same thing. Oops, where's player 3? It's over there. Oh, look, here we've got a 9-position carryover problem. Hear that buzzer? That's the over-the-top buzzer. So you see how it's advancing this guy too? That means the 9-position switch on this guy is incorrectly adjusted. We'll go up one more, and now we can test the 4th player. So we've got a reel up here and a reel down here that needs a little work. This is the reel with the carryover problem. I have it set to 0, the 0 position. All switches should be open. This topmost one is the 9 carryover, and what was happening is as I advanced to 1, see how that guy moves up? It was closing that switch. It should only close at the 9th position. So I've got that adjusted correctly. So now this reel will carry only over correctly to the next reel, only at the 9th position. Now you can see that it carries over only at the 9th position. And for this guy up here, this is the player unit to the right guy. I got this guy running too. Those are all working now too. Just needed a little monkeying around with the mechanics on that guy. So now we're ready to try a real life test. So what I've done is I put scores on all the reels. So we got numbers on everything. And since I have the game on free play, I can hit the start button and hopefully they'll all find 0. Which they do. And look, it kicks the ball to shooter lane, and we're ready to play. Now remember I told you about the spinners and how they correlate to the wheel? Well, it is true. Watch as I hit the spinner. Oops. See how it moves the wheel? So if the spinner gets stuck in a half up position like that, hear that noise? That's this unit stuck on, and that's why that coil burned up. So that's why these spinners have to stand straight up and not get stuck like that. Everything else seems to work on the game. Resets, screenshots, kick out holes, spinners, and of course the flippers. So we have ourselves a working Bally game now. This flipper seems weak. Yeah, that flipper is weak. So this is going to be, look at the difference. Watch. Yeah, that one kicks it up there really nice. This one, not so much. So I figure we got an end of stroke switch problem with this flipper. As I suspected, an end of stroke switch problem. Here's the end of stroke. It opens at the end of stroke, but look, one of the wires is off. It's supposed to be soldered to here. If this is not shorting out the low powered side of the coil will always be weak like it is now. So I hook this back up, and now we'll have our flipper strength back on this flipper coil. Okay, now with the wire reattached on the flipper coil, you can see we've got considerably more power. A lot more. So, and anyways, there we go. I just got to clean the game up, and we'll be playing some Bally Freedom.